thy and is beloved. Okay, oh my gosh, that makes me so excited. Hi guys, so today we are working out a few issues. I have some ideas floating around in my head and I really just need to give them some structure. First, we talked about that staff that has the curse attached to it that could have possibly been owned by a vampire. If you watched that video, you understand what I'm talking about, but I thought that my main character could use it because she does become a vampire. And if you didn't want any spoilers for my webtoon, you're on the wrong side of my channel. But my character does eventually become a vampire. And there is the problem of needing to feed upon human blood. That's not something our main character necessarily wants to do. And it's a problem that she's going to have to solve. And part of the staff that we created, its history being that it was also created by a vampire that needed to kill humans or feed upon human blood or energy without necessarily killing them. Only the setback was that it would make the user crazy or it didn't quite work in the way that person wanted to, if that makes sense. So Mai is able to see the attribute of this staff, but is well aware that it's not enough to help her solve her problem of not wanting to harm or feed on humans. Our character Mai is an enchanter. So she has a very close relationship to weapons in the process of passing down certain traits or combining traits from previous weapons or artifacts. It's obscure and complicated, but it's part of what's going to help her solve the problem of vampirism in the world, because so far vampires and the undead are looked to as creatures who have very naturally invasive abilities that doesn't make them compatible to live alongside other species or creatures or just other people outside of their own realm. So a big part of what Mai, one of the main characters, will have to do is solve the problem of vampirism and a lot that has to do with the undead. So we're going to pop into our magic system canvas and we're going to add some notes about vampirism. Actually, we're going to do it a different way. We're going to go to our everything canvas, and within this canvas we're going to add vampirism. Type of creature tied to eternal life, must prey upon human blood to absorb mana within. Let's just say that is gonna be our definition of vampire for now. And we're going to convert to file, vampirism, save, and this is connected to Mai. There we go. And I highlight all my special abilities as green, or not necessarily special abilities, but just anything that has to do with the magic system. I'll give you any special attributes that would make you stronger. Moving on, I will have to add the staff that we created, which would be staff of, I wonder what we called it. I don't think the staff had a particular name, but if you guys didn't watch the video, it is this staff right here and right here, and basically vampiric gem staff. Okay, I think we just called it vampiric gem staff. Vampiric gem staff. And we're gonna put some notes about the staff that we created. We're gonna use handy dandy ChatGPT, and then I'm going to write, please write a brief overview of magical staff I'm creating that I'm writing about. The staff was created by a vampire to focus, to be able to take the life force of its opponents without having to drink human blood. Was created to reduce bloodlust. Those that use the staff are cursed to... Those that use the power of the staff are cursed to grow, cursed to become a part of the staff itself. The users of the staff, let's see. The minds of the past users of the staff are unfortunately imbued into the gem of the staff. Anyone who uses it becomes crazy unless they have high resistance against mind control. Sometimes in my sketches, I'll write some more notes about things that I'm thinking about. It might have to do with the page before, or it'll just be other notes. Okay, I think that's all the details that I added about... Oh, let me do a quick note about what it looks like. Okay, let's see. The Blood Gem Staff is a sinister and ancient artifact crafted by a vampire with a desperate goal to curb the relentless bloodlust that plagues their land. Central to its dark power is a radiant crimson blood gem ensconced within a spiraled wooden casing. This twisted wood is adorned with patches of moss and embedded with smaller gleaming gems that pulse with an eerie light. Ooh! Destined to draw the life force from enemies, the staff allows its wielder to avoid the need for human blood. However, this grim weapon comes with a dreadful curse. Each user of the Blood Gem Staff inevitably becomes part of it, their consciousness trapped within the blood gem. Over centuries, these trapped minds accumulate, creating a cacophony of voices that drive new wielders towards insanity. Only those with extraordinary resistance to mental domination can hope to use the staff without losing their sanity. Thus, while the Blood Gem Staff offers immense power and a temporary reprieve from bloodlust, it exacts a heavy toll, forever imprisoning the souls of its users and posing a constant threat to the mind of its current bearer. Okay, as someone who has a lot of ideas, but does not necessarily have the talent to write, this just makes my heart so happy to see it put together. It is a crazy, scary crutch, but it also is like, work smarter, not harder. So I will do just that. It just makes me so happy to see it like put together so nicely. Okay, so now we have details about the staff that we created in the short altogether. We're going to, as usual, convert to file, and we're just going to call this vampiric gem staff, and we can, create more lore about the very first vampire that did create the vampiric gem staff. But I do assume it's like old vampiric royalty that tried to maybe find a workaround. Maybe it was one of the servants of vampiric royalty that went crazy and didn't want to be a vampire. Or maybe it was one of the, I'm thinking like second princes, someone who wasn't in line for the throne and was casted out from the family anyways, and went about, say, falling in love with a human, and they didn't want to have to kill humans either which way. Usually it's for love. But let's just give that person a name just for the fun of it, since it's floating around now. I don't really want to forget that. Let's just say the second prince of the vampiric bloodline. Let's just say Savion de Blanc. Sounds like a wine. And no, that is like very wine-ish. Savion de Levatrice. Let's just say the second prince of the true vampiric bloodline, Savion de Levatrice, or Levi for short, was cast out by the family in fear that his radical beliefs, such as human vampire collaboration, human vampire cohabitation, human vampire, such as human vampire coexistence. All vampires coexist with humans in some way, shape, or form. They need the humans at this moment of time. They need them as a source of food, such as human, vampire, let's just say collaboration, would incentivize him to, seriously, incentivize him, it's still wrong, incentivize, is incentivize even a word? Anyways, incentivize him to overthrow his elder brother. His beliefs stemmed from his love for a human girl that did not want eternal life, scorned him for playing with his food, and were distraught by the idea of his relationship. Let's just say he sought out a solution for his bloodlust. He discovered a gem. He discovered a sapphire blue, a sapphire, let's just say blue gem. Let's be simple. He discovered a blue gem. Let's just say he didn't even seek out a solution for his bloodlust. He struggled with his bloodlust. And having been on the brink of death due to a duel put on by his brother for the throne, he ends up turning his lover into a vampire. The blue ore / gem that he intended to turn into a necklace for his lover was drenched in his blood, his and her blood combined, turning the gem into a bloody vampiric gem that would later be turned into a staff. They are the first lives that live within the gem. Though the lover would have turned into a vampire, not having died, but could not live an eternal life without her lover. She wished to be together with him in the gem. Very cool. Now, I do think that this might be really great to put into ChatGPT. So let's go back here and write, can you write a short story of my character, a short summary story of my character named, I forgot how I said it, Fionn or Levi for short. Oh, whoa, what? Wait, I didn't even give it any information. It took my blood stem staff thing, and then it took that information, and then it made a story. That is really cool. Wow, this is really cool. The fact that it uses the information that I've submitted before to be in my line of thinking is very cool. But let's still elaborate and do this type thing. Copy, paste. Okay, is the second prince of a noble vampiric bloodline destined for power but driven by a vision of peace and collaboration between humans. Okay, let's see. Destined for power but driven by a vision of peace and collaboration between humans and vampires, his progressive beliefs, fueled by his deep love for a human girl who cherished her mortal life, ultimately led to his exile. The royal family, fearing his ideals might inspire him to challenge his elder brother for the throne, cast him out. Levi's love story was both beautiful and tragic, struggling with his bloodlust and torn between his nature and his affection. Levi was pushed to the brink of despair when a duel for the throne nearly cost him life. In a desperate attempt to save his beloved, he turned her into a vampire, but not before a fateful accident occurred. A blue gem intended as a token of his love was soaked in their combined blood, transforming it into a power bloody vampiric gem. This gem, imbued with the essence of their love and tragedy, became the core of a sinister staff Levi later created. So Levi didn't later create it, but it's so cool. Although his lover survived the transformation, she chose to bind her soul to the gem, preferring to remain eternally connected to Levi within the mystical artifact rather than endure eternal life without him. They became the first souls to inhabit the gem, their consciousness forever intertwined. Scorned by his peers for his unconventional love and his perceived disrespect for human life, Levi, disdain and ostracism undeterred, he wielded the blood gem staff, a potent symbol of his love and loss, to pursue his vision of a world where vampires and humans could coexist. Levi's journey is marked by relentless struggle against the forces that scorned him and his own eternal battles, striving to honor the memory of his beloved while seeking a path to peace and understanding between the two worlds. So, this version of the story has given me... I'm sorry that my hair is so annoying today. I don't even know what's happening today with my hair. It looks so flat over here. And then, whatever. Anyways, it gives me a lot to think about. It definitely reiterated a different story than I was imagining. I imagined that the two souls were both within the gem. And I am still thinking about, how does the gem make its way to Mai? And I was thinking that it's set up as a trap within like an enchanted forest, for example. Like it's something that the kids in my story happen upon because they are facing an opponent that also uses the staff that isn't the original user, and that they've gone insane because they're using that staff with that history. Let's just let this be. I think I need to give it some more details. I think I really like the very first story that it created, which is the Scion de Levitrice, known to friends and foes alike as Levi, is a complex and enigmatic figure whose life has been shaped by the dark mystical forces he wields. Born into a noble family with a secret lineage of vampirism, Levi inherited not just wealth and status, but a curse that haunted his bloodline for generations. From a young age, he was driven by a desire to break free from the relentless hunger that defined his existence. Like, that's really cool, but that's not quite what I was thinking. These are the original vampiric lines. Levi's quest for a solution led him to ancient tombs and forbidden rituals, culminating in the creation of the blood gem staff. I actually think that this would make a very good second user of the staff. The person who actually put the staff together, who almost saw Levi's vampiric beliefs and also wanted a solution to his vampirism. Let's just add this as a note for later times. And the name won't be Levi, it'll be something else. I'll put a quick note here just to be there. Second vampiric staff user story. I don't think I make it clear enough to ChatGPT of what happens at the very end. Having been on the brink of death due to a duel put on by his brother for the throne, he ends up turning his lover into a vampire with the blue or gem that he did. I actually like the way that ChatGPT turned it into, because I imagined he was so hurt and his regenerative powers weren't working because they were fighting with like silver or something, and his wounds were so bad that he needed someone's blood, anyone's blood, and she happened to be nearby, or he went to her and he preyed upon her. Maybe because he stopped, she wouldn't even have been enough to cure his wounds, that he would ultimately die from his injuries anyways, and she would either die or choose to become a vampire. So I just took the first 3 paragraphs of what ChatGPT gave me that was in line with the original story. But ultimately the gem is not turned into a staff by Levi, it's by its next user. Since this is a character, I will do blue, but it's not a main character, so maybe I will do a different type of blue, maybe like a darker blue. I will link this to the vampiric gem staff. Actually, I think it should probably be below. This is the second user here, connected to this here, connected to this here. This is the second user. Oh, let's just make them both blue. Okay. I think that this is a potential story. I do think that the second user should have a very brief life. They may have turned it into a staff, but eventually the staff would have eaten him. So let's just keep that. I'm just gonna write a little note. Concerns the second wielder or craftsman who creates this. Oh, actually, okay, sorry, I was thinking. I think that this might be a very interesting and fun origin story of why the original royal vampiric line was destroyed. Because it could have been that in honor of his brother and his lover, also to have some kind of grave, because his brother binds his soul to the stone. And the brother, probably being a vampire, can probably sense that his brother still remains but is no longer a threat, and wants to honor him in some way, shape, or form, because after all, even though he was killed out of the fear that he would overthrow the throne, he still has a respect and maybe a little bit of regret. And so he hires somebody to create a dagger or a staff or a necklace in remembrance of his brother. Maybe then it's turned into a staff, but then the staff ends up eating the brother as well. That's weird though, because then that means both brothers are within the gem. So why don't we just say that, never mind. But then he would have to die off because of the staff, or maybe he doesn't have to. Maybe the person he hired to craft the staff was someone who valued Levi, who wanted him to live and didn't think he was wrong for what he was doing, that he was never a threat to the throne, and he wanted to avenge him. And so he takes the blood gem and turns it into the staff, and he goes mad with his own desire to seek out revenge, but also the regrets and the anger of Levi and his lover. So all three of those people's desires were all mixing in once he created the staff out of it, and then that's when the entire original vampiric royal bloodline was broken, because he went and he massacres all of them. And then, somehow the staff makes its way to the next user and the next, and there wasn't really a way of knowing how that royal bloodline was diminished. But that is the secret story. Okay, let's rewrite that. When Levi and his lover bind their soul, knows his brother's soul and his brother's soul still remains intact and intends to keep it close to friend of Levi he seeks out also under, let's do a side note. The design of the staff itself has like twirling branches, and I think Oscar could have been maybe a magic user as well, could have been able to manipulate thorns, and he creates a kind of thorn staff. That's the first variation of how the staff takes form. Oscar has thorn powers, and under the influence of the gems already stirring madness, he forges the staff of, what did we call it? The vampiric gem staff. He forges the vampiric gem staff. The staff, the gem at the center and adorned with thorn details, goes on to seek revenge, regrets. The two lovers' bloodline, known to have special powers, are then lost. Let's write the prompt in the other. Please write about the creation of the vampiric gem staff. Okay, let's see if ChatGPT is able to take all the information that we fed it before and turn this into a full-fledged origin story, or at least part of it. The creation of the vampiric gem staff is a tale steeped in tragedy and dark creation, born from the desperate love and ultimate sacrifice of... Savon de Levatrice, known as Levi, and his human beloved. After a fateful duel that nearly ended Levi's life, he turned his lover into a vampire in desperate bid to save her. In the process, a blue gem meant to be a token of his love was soaked in their combined blood, transforming a powerful, bloody, vampiric gem. With their souls bound to the gem, Levi and his lover became the first consciousness trapped within, their tragic love story forever etched into the artifact. Levi's elder brother, the prince, felt a deep obligation to honor Levi's final wish. Despite the family's fear and scorn for Levi's radical beliefs, the first prince wanted to keep his brother's soul close, hoping to remember him and the ideals he died for. He asked Oscar, Levi's loyal friend and follower, with the duty of turning the gem into a necklace as Levi had intended. Oscar, deeply disturbed by the loss of his friend and the haunting nature of the gem, was already under the gem's maddening influence. His grief and residual emotions from the trapped souls drove him to a breaking point. With his unique thorn powers, he became overwhelmed by a desire for vengeance and a compulsion to honor Levi and his lover in a different, darker manner. In a frenzied act of creation, Oscar forged the gem into a staff, the vampiric gem staff. The staff's wooden casing twisted and twined with thorn details, a physical manifestation of Oscar's power and the torment within his mind. The blood gem sat at the center, radiating a dark, pulsing energy. Consuming Oscar's mind with grief and vengeance, the staff became an extension of his anguish. He embarked on a path of retribution, seeking to avenge Levi's untimely death and the tragic fate of the lovers. Oscar's actions, driven by the gem's influence, led to the downfall of the original vampiric royal bloodline, their unique powers and legacy lost in the ensuing chaos. Thus, the vampiric gem staff became an artifact of immense power and sorrow, its creation a testament to love, loss, and the consuming nature of grief. It stands as a dark relic of a noble lineage, forever marked by the tragic tale of Levi and his beloved. Okay, oh my gosh, that makes me so excited. I just love it. And I love, it's just so wonderful to have a tool that it just took all my ideas and it brought them together and put it together in a way I could not have done it right now. With the writing skills that I have now, doing something like this would have taken me all day, 12 hours to just put together, and I wouldn't even know where to start. And this tool is so helpful just to have the structure that I need to put the ideas that I have together. I am forever just completely shook by the powers of ChatGPT. And don't get me wrong, I am not going to be publishing what I type in on ChatGPT. I'm going to be writing a webtoon, and I'm using the information that ChatGPT helps me put together to help me in the process of writing my webtoon. Okay, I'm going to clean this up and sort it out in my Obsidian files, but this was a really fun writing session. I didn't think that we'd be able to give more life to this area of vampiric gem staff. I love that it has its own full-fledged story. I love being able to look deeper into certain things that will be popping up in my webtoon and be able to have some lore behind it. If you know me in my writing style, the way that I do things is I usually start out with one idea, one artifact, or one weapon, or one power. I take that and I build lore around it, and then I take that and I put it into my other larger story and see how all of it takes root and spills out into all different areas. That is my writing process, and this is just a very small part of a bigger story that hopefully you guys will come along and be able to enjoy watching me write. I haven't watched a lot of other writers' process. I don't know how other people generate ideas, but this is my version in my way. So hopefully it's not too weird. This was not even what I intended to write today. This was a detail that I needed to add into my Obsidian files because I had a Google Doc and now I'm transferring everything over and some of our latest ideas over. And this vampiric gem stuff actually goes beyond that of, like, this vampiric gem staff is a part of how Mai is going to be able to fix the vampiric power problem. As I spoke about in the very beginning of this episode, we're still working through that, and now that we have more details about this gem staff, we're able to understand a little bit more about what the solution could be. Already, I'm sure you guys have a guess. You guys are understanding that the blood gem staff helps to minimize bloodlust. But how does that take form later? Like, how is the problem of vampirism? Is it just for Mai? Is she the only one who's convenienced by this power? We will see that in our next writing session. That's something that we'll have to figure out together. Either which way, I'm going to sort this out, and I will see you guys in the next writing episode.